Alright, I hope that you enjoyed that video from Clayton Christensen. I found it to be really useful to understand that customers are trying to solve problems, and basically they're hiring you to solve those problems. And there's a lot of different ways that the problems can be solved. So now, as I said to you before in market analysis, you're trying to figure out who your potential customers are. You're trying to be able to say that what characteristics will help you pick out those that are likely to buy, so that you can focus on them rather than just focusing on everyone. So what characteristics would help you to predict who's going to buy, and that's how you're going to segment your market. And so in your marketing plan, basically you need to explain in words and in figures how you're going to sell your product and why this method is doable. So as I said before, you're going to focus on one or two segments that you think you can win, and then you're going to expand over time. The analogy that I would use is that you're trying to explain to the reader that, and persuade them that you have a business and you're going to walk down this path with this business, and the ultimate destination is really attractive. It's beautiful. There's going to be the business is going to grow, and you're going to be successful, and it's going to be great for whoever invests in the company. But the first steps are probably the most critical, because if you can't take those first steps, then the rest of the path won't really matter. So in the marketing plan, you're going to try to explain succinctly what the main message is. You're going to explain what methods and vehicles you use, and then talk about your sales structure. Of course, every business is very different, so it's going to, the marketing plan will look a little bit different, but that's the basic idea. I have asked you to watch this video about growth from How to Start a Startup. I want you to think about what you learned from this video. We can talk about it at greater detail, maybe in class or in a discussion board on the website. But what I want you to think about is his understanding of and his display of cohort analysis. Basically, the idea of a cohort is similar to how you come into school all as freshmen as a group. He's trying to use that idea to understand a group of customers that buy at a certain time a service or a product, and whether they continue to buy over time. And similar to how you're students and you some people drop out of school, customers may stop buying a product or service from the company and basically fall out of the sales funnel. And so I want you to make sure that you watch that video and look at the figure that he shows, and make sure that you understand that when he's looking at a cohort, the cohort always starts at 100%, and then over time some people just stop buying the product or service, and so the 100% drops over time. And his main point is that you have to keep some of your customers continuing to buy from you over time in order to grow the total number of customers. Because if everybody that buys from you pretty quickly stops buying from you, that means that you have to always be finding new customers, and it's just really hard to grow that way. But if you can keep the customers that bought from you last month and the month before that, pretty soon your total number of customers grows bigger and bigger, and you can grow your company. Okay, so this is the sales funnel. You could use different words under each part of this funnel, and that they correspond to different phases in the purchase process. And depending on your business, you might be able to measure at multiple points along this funnel. sometimes you can't measure 4 points along the funnel. But basically, people have to be aware of your product, consider it, evaluate, and then eventually purchase it. And of course, this takes time. But we're going to use this idea of the sales funnel to be able to understand from the bottom up how many sales you're going to be able to make in your business. Now, of course, all of these are assumptions. It could be all wrong, but at least the logic is there. So you need to know how to do this. I'm going to give you a couple different examples, and hopefully this will be helpful for you as you try to estimate your total sales in your business plan. Okay, so here, this first one is a sales funnel where we just use Facebook ads. So I've given you 3 months here, and the idea here of 3 months is that I want to show you how your total number of customers can grow over time. This is not a financial statement. I would like you to put a table like this into your plan, but this is just to help the reader understand how you're going to make money. So in this case, we're just using hypothetical numbers. They may be totally off, but the key is the logic. So in January, you could run one ad. It may cost $20. That may get out to 4,000 people. So 4,000 people might actually pass through 4,000 people's Facebook feed, and that could generate. We're just gonna guess 600 clicks. Now that's really, really high. That actually wouldn't happen. But let's just say it generated 600 clicks. Those people click on the Facebook ad, and then maybe you have an online. It connects to your website, and you can actually observe that 400 that translates to 400 purchases. And if those purchases are on average $4 each, that translates to $1,600. Since this is your first month doing this, there's no prior customers, so there's nobody that are coming back that you haven't advertised to, so we'll just say that's 0. So that ad for $20 generated $1,600 in revenue. Now, we don't, at this point, we're just trying to understand total revenue, and revenue is on an income statement is the top line. Let me repeat that. Total revenue is the top line of an income statement. So this worksheet that we're using here, you're going to use this number, you're going to put that number into the top line of the income statement, which is one of the 3 normal financial statements. So now let's try to do it in February. So let's just say you ran 2 ads now, and you got a little bit more awareness, you had even more clicks, maybe it's more effective, and you had quite a few more purchases. And that generates $4,000. 1,000 purchases, $4 each is $4,000. Now, in order to grow, as I said before, you need to be able to have people that are coming back from the prior month in order to grow your business. And in this case, I'm just going to assume that 40% of the people that bought in January are going to come back and buy in February. And they don't have to see the ads, so they're not additional. They don't count in these numbers. They just come back, and that would total $640 of previous customers coming back from the prior month. So when you add these things two things together, it's not just that the generated revenue grew quite a bit, but you also have some returning revenue that is added in for $46.40. And the same thing happens here. Again, this is just an assumption. But if you're trying to figure out, well, how many sales can I get, this is the more accurate way of doing it. You state what you're going to do, and then you state what you think the result of those actions will be, and other assumptions, and then you figure out how much revenue you get from those actions. So this is not, and I'll repeat that, this is not just saying, well, we think we'll get 10% of the market. That's a weaker way of trying to figure out how much money you think you can generate in revenue. It's better to start with actions and then assume some type of result from those actions, and then figure out how much money you make. Okay, here's another example. You drive around Vegas, sometimes you see these guys with banners that are flipping them and pointing, a lot of times for homes, new home subdivisions and stuff, or pizza places. So that's another way that you could advertise, right? So let's just say that this guy's working part-time, 80 hours a month. He's getting paid $10 an hour, that's $800. Now we just put this in there just for informational purposes. Notice that I don't actually subtract this number from anything. I'm not, again, the bottom here, this is just a worksheet. This is not the income statement. This is just trying to figure out how much revenue I have here that I'll be able to generate from this banner guy. I just put this in here just so that just for information, but it's not subtracted anywhere. Later on the income statement, it would count as a cost that would be subtracted from revenue. So we say, well, how many cars are going to drive by? Let's say 10,000 cars drive by. It ends up in 600 purchases. Obviously, this wouldn't be for a home. This is for Rebel Raspados, the idea of the snow cone thing. So 600 people come by and purchase at an average $4. That'd be $2,400. So this banner guy generated $2,400 in revenue. Again, we don't know what the total costs are. Maybe you actually lost money on this. If the costs are high, you might have lost money on doing these sales from the banner guy. So you can see here again, same thing, same amount of work, gets a little bit more awareness, more purchases, a little bit more revenue, and then you have returning revenue from the prior month, just assuming 40% come back, and that gives you your total, and you can do the same thing with March. So again, this is a worksheet. This is not a financial statement, but I think it's helpful to understand how you're going to get your top line revenue, which you'll put on your income statement. So now I'd like you to think about what you could do to outline how you're going to generate sales for this idea of Rebel Raspados. And you just make clear bottom-up assumptions, just as we did before. It should look similar to basically what I want you to do is, for this type of question, is do a little table, just like I did before, and then explain that. Okay, so try to work that out on your own. Ask me questions if you don't know how to do that, and we'll come back.